Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Unstuck series on LinkedIn. If you haven't joined one of my live sessions before, you're very welcome. I'm Sarah Archer. I'm a career and leadership coach, and I've been a coach now for over 15 years. In fact, I'll stop counting the number of years I've been a coach. And I created this Get Unstuck series because I've been an HR director, and I know when I was doing that job, there was so little time in my working day to think about my leadership development, my career development, my career advancement. The day job was so busy. So I wanted to create a little window in your week, twice a month, 15 minutes maximum, just for you to have the opportunity to think about these things or get some inspiration or some takeaways or some tools, just to help you move forward a bit in terms of your thinking, or give you a bit of respite, or help you feel like you're not alone with feeling this way as a leader, because it's definitely challenging being a leader in the world today. And if you're here with me live, that would be great. I'd love to know. Please do say hello in the comments. I use StreamYard because I also post onto my YouTube channel, so I can't always see the comments. But if I miss one of your comments, I will come back and answer it later on. So if you've got questions for me today, please do just pop them into the chat. If you're watching on replay, because I know a lot of you do, hello. And if you've got a question or a comment, pop it in the chat and tag me, and I'll come back and answer it later. I also have a podcast now called Unstuck and Unstoppable, and I convert my LinkedIn Lives into my podcast, so you can pick that up and listen to it whenever you like, and I'll put a link to the podcast in the comments today as well. And also, if you've got ideas for things you'd like me to cover, I've been running these now for 2 years, so I'm always open to new topics. If there's something I haven't covered and you'd like me to, please do message me or pop it into the chat. That's really helpful to me as well. So today's topic, it's all about how to be an authentic leader, how to bring your whole self to work. And I thought it would be a great topic to talk about, because I think it's something as leaders we can struggle with, because there is that sense, given the uncertainty in the world, and my last session was on how to lead in uncertainty. Sometimes you feel that you have to be strong. You have to show that you're in control, so that people around you can feel some of that strength. But obviously that can take its toll. And sometimes the culture of your organization might mean that you feel like you can't be authentic, you can't bring your complete and whole self to work. So these things can get in the way of us being fully authentic. But obviously, if you're having to hide part of yourself away, or put up a kind of armor or some kind of mask on to show that you're strong, you're in control, whatever it might be, that can be exhausting. That can really take its toll on you. So we do want to be thinking about how we can be authentic at work. And sometimes when I'm working with clients, we will look at personality preferences, because that can help us understand maybe areas of ourselves that we're not fully showing at work, that maybe we could, that would help us to be more authentic and would help us to spend less energy not showing that side to ourselves. So what I thought I'd do today is I'd just talk a little bit about why it matters to be authentic at work. None of this will be new, you will know all of this, it's just a good reminder. And then I've got 3 takeaways for you just to think about, to reflect on, to help you think about where you could bring more of yourself into work. So why does it matter for us to be authentic leaders? Well, there is research that shows that leaders that show their vulnerability engender more trust and connection at work. So the Global Leadership Forecast of 2023 showed that leaders who showed vulnerability were 5.3 times more likely to be trusted by their team, by their peers. And those leaders that acknowledged failure, things that hadn't gone well, things that they tried and that hadn't worked, were 7.5% more likely to be trusted. And it's not really rocket science, is it? Because we know if we're working for somebody who shows their vulnerability, who talks honestly about things that haven't worked and have worked, we just feel more connected, don't we? Because we feel they're more human, so we can be more of ourselves with them. And so it trickles down with you and with your teams, that the more that they can see your human side, they can see that you're not this kind of perfect leader, that you have frailty, that you have vulnerability, they're more likely to be engaged with you, they're more likely to be loyal, and they're more likely to be connected to you. But obviously, as female leaders, it can feel quite uncomfortable to maybe show that vulnerability, because we might feel that that will show that we are weak leader, which is that kind of typical kind of alpha male model, isn't it? That you don't show any weakness, that you don't show emotions, in a sense, that emotion equals vulnerability equals weakness. And we have to flip that, because we know, don't we, that that is one of our strengths, to be authentic, to show vulnerability, because, as I've said, the research supports it, that you're going to be trusted more, people are going to engage with you more, and people are going to be more loyal to you. And I've got a little example to share with you. So somebody that I coached who was a senior leader in financial services. Now, I think it's fair to say that financial services culture doesn't tend to fall on the kind of compassionate leadership side. And obviously, compassionate leadership is about acknowledging vulnerability, it's about empathy, it's about all those things that go into authenticity. And what my client had done is, within her division, she had created a department that was incredibly high performing. And they were incredibly high performing because she encouraged people to try things and to fail, and to be okay with failure, and to be vulnerable about failure. And she had senior leaders reporting to her, and she encouraged them to demonstrate compassionate leadership, to encourage their teams to explore and to experiment and to potentially fail. And because she did that, because she created this kind of subculture within the overarching culture of the bank, she had enabled these teams to be very high performing, and they had huge workloads, they had huge areas that they were delivering on, but she had managed to maintain that performance because she'd created this culture of vulnerability and compassion within an organization that wasn't known for that. But she, I have to say, kind of was allowed to create that because they were high performing. But it is that virtuous circle, isn't it? That the more authentic you are as a leader, the more compassionate you are as a leader, the more you create that culture within your department, within your team, the higher performance you're going to see. Because it is just a virtuous circle. So I think it's just to think about, the outcome of vulnerability and authenticity as well, is that you're going to enable high performance. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a little drink. And I'd love to know, excuse me, I'd love to know if this is resonating with you. So if you are feeling that you're not able to be authentic at work, that you're not able to show yourself at work, give me a little no, I'm not. If you are, then give me a yes. It would be useful to know how people are feeling about whether they can be authentic at work. That'd be great to know. Hopefully I'll be able to see those comments coming through. So now we're going to think about 3 takeaways that you could think about to understand where you are in terms of your authentic leadership style. So the first one is to think about that vulnerability builds connection. So obviously vulnerability isn't about oversharing, it's not about spilling every detail of your personal life, but it is about showing your team that you're human, showing your peers that you're human, showing your clients that you're human, and maybe just being able to say, I don't know, or that didn't work, or I tried that and failed, or we're not quite there yet. But the thing to think about is to actually pair it with something else. So pairing vulnerability with action. So it's adding a sentence onto that, I don't know yet, but what I'm doing to find out is this, or this didn't work, but what I've learned from it and what I'm going to implement next is this. So you're pairing vulnerability with action. And it just allows people to see, actually, that vulnerability is helpful, it's useful, and there's going to be momentum from it. So that's one thing to think about when you are being vulnerable, is how you can pair it with action. The second thing to think about is that empathy strengthens credibility. There's this myth that empathy makes leaders soft, but actually what we know is that empathy makes you more effective, because if you are listening to your team, listening to your clients, listening to your peers, if you're acknowledging their perspective, acknowledging the challenges that they might be facing, you're not going to lose authority, you're going to gain it, because they really feel that you understand what's happening for them, that you understand the situation, and therefore it helps you to make better decisions. So that showing that empathy, and through that empathy really understanding what's going on for that other person or that other team, because you're considering the impact on them or on people around you, that is going to help those decisions be stronger decisions. And the pairing you can think about here is pairing it with data, because obviously businesses value data and data-driven decisions, but bringing empathy into that decision-making process makes those decisions better, stronger, and more likely to succeed, because you are bringing in that people dimension into it. So that's remembering that empathy engenders credibility, and that if you pair it with data, it's going to make those decisions really strong and valuable. And our third thing to think about is authenticity creates your leadership brand. So it's the foundation of your leadership brand. Because obviously if you're showing up as you and you're in tune and aligned with your values, then you're really going to be acting authentically. So if one of your values is collaboration, letting your team see that you value that, and that how you are collaborating, whether with them or with your peers, shows that value is part of your foundation, that you're authentic. Similarly, if fairness is one of your key values, then showing that in your decision making will help people to know that is part of your leadership brand, and that you are acting consistently with your leadership brand. Now, obviously, sometimes if you're noticing that your values are different to the organisation's values, that can be a challenge as a leader. And so it's thinking, am I wanting to operate within this and try and change from within, or create something within my team, within my department that sits with my values? And thinking about my client earlier that I talked about in financial services, she achieved that within an organisation that didn't necessarily hold the same values as her, but she wanted to stay within it, so she made it work. Or it's thinking about, actually, if there's no alignment, do I need to be looking for an organisation that does align more with my values, where I can really thrive and be my full authentic self and bring my whole self to work? And I'm working with a client recently who has recognised that because she's a very senior leader, that she can't be her true self, and she can't really thrive and bring her best performance to work because of the organisation's values misalignment. Although when she joined, she thought that they were aligned. And so we're now working to find an organisation that really does share the same values and will allow her to really shine and show her brilliance at work. So it does help you also think about where you can thrive by having that kind of authentic connection to your values, and really knowing how you can bring those work values into work on a consistent, regular basis. So just to kind of recap on what we've talked about, just reminding yourself that there is solid evidence about how vulnerability brings trust, loyalty, credibility to your leadership. And then thinking about vulnerability builds connection, and pairing vulnerability with action. Then we've got empathy, strengthening credibility, and pairing empathy with data-driven information. And we've got authenticity as the foundation of your leadership brand and that alignment with your work values. So my final kind of thought for you today is to think about what's one small way you could bring more of your true self into work this week. So just thinking about what is one small way I could actually bring more of myself into work. You know, is it sharing a story with my team? Is it listening to somebody really deeply? Is it naming a value to myself that I want to lead with this week? So just really thinking about how you could just, dial it up slightly if you're not feeling you're able to bring your complete self to work. And I would love to know how you get on. So please do either message me or pop it in the chat. Let me know how you are bringing more of your true self to work this week. That'd be great. And I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another topic for you. And if you've got any ideas for topics, as I said, please just do message me. If you would like some coaching around your leadership style, around your leadership brand, your authenticity, just message me. We can have a free chat about how I can support you with that. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you back here in 2 weeks' time.